Hey guys, it's Kara from iStampin.com. Thanks for joining me today on my YouTube channel. I'm really excited to present this class project called Petals and Paisleys. And if you have not seen this collection, you can find this in our holiday catalog. And if you flip on back to page 46 and 47, you can see this absolutely beautiful product suite that Stampin' Up! Is offering this season. The beautiful copper foiling and just very thankful, blessed theme throughout this product suite. So if you have not received a catalog, I'll just put this in there really quickly. If you have not received a holiday catalog and currently don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, give me a shout out, contact me, and I'll get one to you as soon as possible. All right, so going back to this class, I'm going to be making these 3 cards showing you. So I'll put the disclaimer out here. This is going to be a lengthy video, unusual for me, but I wanted to make these 3 cards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a hostess code for you to be able to purchase the bundle as well as the paper. And when you purchase that, then I will send you all of the consumables to make these 3 cards. So you'll receive the card bases, everything that you see here except for the stamps, the ink, the framelits, and the designer series paper. So the copper foil, the ribbon, the doily, the colored cardstock, those things like that, that will all be in the kit that you will receive when you purchase that bundle. Now this just goes through the end of September, so today is September the 14th and it will run through the end of September. So if you have any questions about this, just reach out to me and I can clarify that for you. So I really think that you're going to absolutely love this project today. So why don't we get started? What I've done is I've gone ahead and cut out all of the supplies that we need, and I'm just going to do all of the stamping first, and then we'll start putting the card together. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is to get out your 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 piece of very vanilla cardstock. And here we're going to be stamping all of our medallions in the varying sizes and in the different colors. And then we're going to stamp all of that on here and then take the coordinating framelits and cut those out on our Big Shot. So the first thing that we're going to do is use Cajun Craze and the largest medallion, which will be this one right here. So we're going to stamp this one in Cajun Craze. And so you'll want to have your Stampin' Scrub handy because we're going to stamp this a few times in different colors. And I'm going to go ahead and get my foam pad to put behind here since I'm using photopolymer stamps. Okay. So clean off the stamp. Okay, then we're going to stamp it in mint macaron. And then finally, we're going to stamp it in Night of Navy. Okay, next you're going to want to get the medium-sized medallion. So that is going to be this one right here. And we're going to stamp that in Cajun Craze, Delightful Dijon, and Rich Razzleberry. So Delightful Dijon, and then one last time in Rich Razzleberry. Okay, then we're going to take this the small medallion, this one right here. We're going to stamp this in Rich Razzleberry, Delightful Dijon, and then Mint Macaron. And then you're going to see this tiny little circle image right here. So we're going to ink that up in Cajun Craze. And I like how we are stamping everything on this one piece of paper to really utilize the paper without wasting. Delightful Dijon and Night of Navy. So, Night of Navy, clean it, and then let's find Delightful Dijon, and then we'll have all the stamping done for this, and now we can go over to the Big Shot and cut this out. Okay, so I've got everything stamped and cut out. It was actually really easy to use the framelits because we have, obviously you can see we have 4 different shapes here. So with the spacing when I stamped, I was able to cut out 4 pieces at a time. So I only had to run this through the Big Shot 3 times, so that was a big time saver. Okay, so let me put those off to the side real quick. So we're going to actually start to assemble the card, and let me show you what you're going to need. First thing is you're going to need a piece of very vanilla cardstock, and this measures 8.5 by 4 1/4, and then I scored it at 4 1/4. So the card base is 4 1/4 by, you know, it's going to be a 4 1/4 by 4 by 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 card. Tongue twister. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is to get out your Petals and Paisleys Specialty Designer Series paper and find the Ivy pattern print and cut this down to 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and that is going to be covering the card base completely. And we're going to go ahead and attach that to our card base, and I'm just going to use snail for that. And so make sure that you have the Ivy print going the right direction. And what I like to do is to start wherever the score mark is. That's where I like to align my pattern paper. And then, okay, the next thing that you're going to want to do is to get a piece of Night of Navy cardstock, and you're going to cut this to 4 1/4 by 5/8. And if you purchase the bundle, like I mentioned at the very beginning, this will be part of your kit, as well as the vanilla card base. The only thing that won't be part of the kit that I'm showing so far is the Designer Series paper. That will be part of what you purchase to qualify to get the kit. And I'm going to notch both ends. I'm just going to use my scissors to do that, and I'm just going to make it a really simple notch. So just take your scissors in the middle of the card, in the cardstock on either end, just cut a little bit in the middle, and then from the right and left angle just meet up to where you cut, and then hopefully you can do the same on the other end and it matches. I'm usually not the best, but we'll do it this way today. Okay, so it's going to go on the card base like that. But before we do it, we're going to be actually attaching the medallions to this Night of Navy card strip. So the first one, I'm going to put them all together. I think this will make it easier to attach. So the first one's going to be Night of Navy, the large Night of Navy medallion, and then the Delightful Dijon. Then the next is Rich Razzleberry, and then the little tiny Cajun Craze circle there. And then the next one is going to be Mint Macaron. Then we're going to layer Cajun Craze on top of that. then Delightful Dijon, and Night of Navy. And then the third and final one is going to be Cajun Craze. Okay, Pippa, I gotta get down. Rich Razzleberry, Mint Macaron, and then Delightful Dijon. Okay, so those are the medallions, that's the color combinations. So let's just go ahead and attach all these on here. If you want, you can use glue dots. I'm just going to use a little bit of snail. I think that will be the easiest. And it doesn't really take a whole lot. So I think I can zoom out now. So let's see. So you just kind of want to offset them. And just make sure that they're centered onto each other. And just these colors are just so pretty together. I love how Stampin' Up! Just comes. I think for this little tiny one I am going to use my glue dots for that. But what I was saying is I just love how Stampin' Up! Just comes with these colors. They're just so pretty. Okay, and then just put this little guy right there in the center. Okay, so there's our first one. And then I'm going to repeat the same step for these two as well. Okay, so I've got all three of them done, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be adhering them onto the Night of Navy strip. So I'm just kind of placing them on here first just to get an idea of spacing. And there's just a little bit of blue showing in between. I think that's perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of, maybe the easiest thing is to put the snail on the Night of Navy. And I'm not going to press really hard in case I need to move these around. So just make sure that, and I'm using the lines in my grid mat to make sure that I've got these all even. Okay, I think there we go. That looks good. Okay, so we're going to put off that to the side. So the next thing that I'm going to do, okay, and I meant to do this first. So I'm actually going to just peel this up just a little bit. What I've done is I have cut a piece of Mint Macaron ribbon, and this comes from the little trio ribbon pack. This is Delightful Dijon, Rich Razzleberry, and Mint Macaron, and you'll get the ribbon that you need in your kit. And what you want to do is just wrap this around the card or the pattern paper. So I'm just going to put a little bit of snail along the ribbon. So I've just put it, I'm sorry, that was off camera. And I'm going to put this up towards the top. So make sure that's straight. And like I said, do this before you adhere the pattern paper to the card base. That was my mistake. But if you do what I did, it's not, you haven't like ruined the project. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit more snail on here to make sure I've got this nice and secure. There we go. Okay, so now I have cut one of our, I've used our copper foil. So this is just a tiny little sliver. This measures 4 5/8 by 1/4. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors and you're just going to angle both edges. Just like that. And we're going to attach the copper foil behind the Night of Navy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use glue dots. I think this will be the easiest way to do it. I'm just going to put about 3 glue dots on this. So 1 on each end and then 1 in the middle. Oops. You need to turn it over to get it straight. There we go. So it's just a little bit of copper peeking out. Okay, so the next thing that you're going to do is to cut a piece of very vanilla cardstock. This measures 2 3/8 by 3 1/4. So go ahead and get your foam pad, and we're going to be using Night of Navy ink. And we're going to be stamping the Thankful, Grateful, Blessed here at the bottom. So just go ahead and ink that up. Like I said, that's just going to go right here in the center, so make sure you center that. And then just stamp that, just like that. Perfect. And then now we can attach this to the very vanilla panel. And again, I'm just gonna use a little bit of snail for this. You may want to put a little bit more than normal just because we don't want this element to go anywhere. And that's just going to go centered onto the cardstock. Okay, like that. And then let's go ahead and bring our card base in. Here we go. And then from here, we're going to attach this using Stampin' Dimensionals. So I'm going to go ahead and put a dimensional in each corner and then 1 in the center. And we will be all done with card number 1. And so what I would recommend doing is just getting out your envelope punch board and creating an envelope that will fit the 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 card, and you will have an absolutely beautiful Thanksgiving card to give to somebody here at Thanksgiving. Look how pretty that is. All right, guys, well, let me clean everything up and then we'll get started on card number 2. All right, let's start on card number 2. And when you receive your kit, you will already have the card base embossed. I used the new Petals Paisleys Texture Impressions Embossing Folder. This is part of the collection that you can find in the holiday catalog. You'll find that on page 47. But in your kit, you will go ahead and already have this embossed for you. So this is just a piece of rich raspberry cardstock, just a normal A2 size card, so 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. And we're going to keep it as a portrait style card. So you'll be able to fold on your score line and then just gently take your bone folder and just burnish on the score line, but make sure that when you do that, that you don't rub over the embossed part because you could possibly flatten that. All right, so the next step that you're going to do is cut a piece of the copper polka dot, the copper foil polka dot designer series paper from the collection. You're going to want to use your largest layering oval framelit, and that's just going to nest right in there. Look how pretty that is. But before we attach that, you're going to take the Delightful Dijon ribbon that you'll receive in your kit, and you're just going to double that, and we're going to adhere it on the left side of the card front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just use a little bit of snail and just put enough in there where I can fold it in half where it's going to stay together. And then I can take my ribbon scissors and go ahead. I want to cut at an angle on the ends. So just go ahead and do that. And if you want, you can do it opposite directions. And I just want it to be just a little bit of, there we go. And then I'm just going to adhere it about, whoops, sorry. I'm going to adhere it about right there. So this is just going to be tucking out of the, from the oval, so you'll see it, but you don't have to put it on there perfectly. So it's going to go about like that. And then we're just going to adhere the oval using the designer series paper, and that's just going to go right there, overlapping the ribbon just a little bit. Actually, let me move this down. Make sure that it's centered into the embossed part of the card. There we go. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is to find this pattern in your designer series paper. And so it's this really pretty colorful diagonal stripe. It has this floral pattern on the back, but you're going to be wanting to use the diagonal stripe. And this measures 3/4 by 4. And that's just going to attach right here in the center on top of the card. So just use a little bit of snail, and let's put that right on top of there. And just make sure that you've got the same amount of cardstock peeking out on the left and right side. There we go. So what I would suggest doing is once you get your kit and get the full color instructions, is to cut everything first, and then that really makes putting the cards together really easy. All right, so now we're going to do some stamping, and in the instructions it tells you to cut the cardstock really tiny. I want to say 3 3¼ by 3/8. I'm actually going to, I just got it. It does measure 3 1/4, but the width I wanted it a little bit wider, just because I didn't want it, if I mess up, then, or I have a better chance of being successful. I felt like with it being so thin that I wouldn't stamp it correctly. And then what I'll do is I'll just cut it down. I find that a lot easier, just to have a wider strip of paper when I'm stamping, and then cut it down. So the stamp that we're going to be using is the I Thank You for Your Part in My Journey. So go ahead and get that mounted on a block. And we're going to be using Night of Navy ink. And then let's just come in here in the center and stamp that. Okay, and then from here I can go ahead and I'm just going to use my little portable paper trimmer and just trim this down. Okay, so I've trimmed that down, and then we're going to notch the ends like we did on the other card. So just cut up in the middle, and then on either side just cut at an angle until you meet where that middle cut is. If you have the 1-inch square punch, you can use that to make those notched edges. Oh, it's not very good. There we go. Okay. But we'll be attaching that just a little bit because we have some more stamping to do, because we've got some coloring to do. We're going to be using our blender pens, blender pen and ink pads to do this. Okay, so we're going to be stamping the small and large paisley in Night of Navy ink, and then we're going to be using our blender pen to color it. So this should be fun. I haven't done this much coloring in a long time. And then we're going to cut these out by hand. Okay, so you're going to want to get out your blender pen and then the following 4 colors, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit and then I'll zoom back in before I start coloring. Okay, so you're going to need these 4 colors: Cajun Craze, Enriched Razzleberry, then Delightful Dijon, and Mint Macaron. And what we're going to do is, if you haven't seen this before, you want to create a puddle of ink in the top of your stamp pad. So what I like to do is just very gently, just from the bottom and the top, squeeze the stamp pad together. You don't want to do it really hard because you possibly could break it. And then when you do that, I need to squeeze a little bit harder. You create a little pool of ink. There we go. A little pool of ink in the top of your lid, and then from there, that's where you can pick up the ink with your blender pen to color it from to the cardstock. Hopefully that made sense. All right, so let me zoom in again, and what we're going to do, I'm going to start with the Cajun Craze since I already have that color, and I'm going to show you how I color it. Now I will say I am not a professional with this, so we'll see how this turns out. One thing I will say is that you want to do a light touch. If you saturate the paper too much, it does have a tendency to pill. The other thing is that you don't really want to touch the outline because it could bleed. All right, so I'm just going to pick up a little bit of ink and just come in and just color this part of the paisley. And we're going to do that all the way around. And so you can see here where that got a little bit lighter. So I want to pick up a little bit more ink and come back. So if you enjoy coloring, this will be right up your alley. And it's actually really easy because the ink actually comes off really easy from the blender pen. So it's a very light touch. It's not like coloring with markers. If you have a heavy touch, like I said, it could have a tendency to pill, which you don't want that to happen. we are all done with coloring. So as you can see, that was actually pretty easy. So now what you're going to do is just take the two outline framelets and that one, and then take it on over to your Big Shot and let's cut these out. And then you are going to get some copper foil paper in your kit, and you're going to want to die cut this piece right here, and then this one also, the sleeve. So let me go ahead and take this out and just gently, I like to take my paper piercer and just kind of poke the holes to release it from the die. So just gently, just move all. Ow! And try not to jab yourself like I just did. This is a pretty intricate die, so just be gentle that you don't rip it. Okay, there we go. I did rip a little bit, but hopefully that will hide. Okay, yeah, so just take your time, and if you rip it, then I think we'll be able to camouflage it. Okay, so what you're going to do is I'm going to get out my fine tip glue pen, and we're going to just put a little bit of glue behind the die cut. And I love this fine tip with this such thin applicator. It really makes getting glue on these thin die cuts a breeze. And then we're going to put the leaf up here. And if you want, you can always use a couple of blocks to put below to kind of set the glue. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one. Now the adhesive will not come in your kit. So like I said, just remember, it's just consumables. So just paper. And then that one will go down here, and let's see, I'll put those two blocks on there. And I'm just gonna let those sit just for a few minutes just to set up, and then I'll come back and we'll finish the card. Okay, so it's been a few minutes and I think they are set up. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna attach the paisleys like so, kind of have them tucking one into the other, but I'm going to use dimensionals to adhere this. So if you need to cut some of the dimensionals in half, they're super easy to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and put two full ones at the top, and then I cut one down here. And we're going to have this one with the tail facing up. And again, I'm not going to press down too hard. If I need to rearrange these, then I'll be able to do that without tearing the paper. And then put a few here. So we want it to be where, whoops. I wanted the flower to show a little bit more. So since that came off, then it's going to stick with the glue or with the dimensionals. And I'm going to tuck this, well, everything's just popping up. Here we go. We'll do it like that. Okay. Okay, so you may need to adjust the way that you stick your paisleys on there. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to come back with our sentiment, and we are just going to layer that right on top of the paisley. Now, because we've put dimensionals on the paisleys, you can either just put snail right here in the middle and leave it like that, or if you want to, you can probably put one dimensional on this side, which that's what I'm going to do, just so that it's not sagging. Let's see, so that's going to go about right there, and then I'm going to put snail here, and then I think that should really make it secure. And you just want it where the stripe is showing at the bottom. Oops, and make sure you get it straight. Well, let's try this again. There we go. There we go, finally. All right, and so that is card number 2. All right, so let me get everything all set up and we will make our final card. All right, we are all set up for our final card. So what I've done here is cut a piece of Delightful Dijon cardstock, and again, this is just the standard A2 size card. So this measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it 4 1/4. Now this time we are going to use this card in landscape style. The other thing that you're going to want to do is to cut a piece of watercolor paper, and again, this will come in your kit, but if you'd like to make extras, this measures 4 1/8 by 5 1/4, and that's going to be layered onto the card base. But we're going to do some stamping and some watercoloring first. So what we're going to do is we are using Versamark ink, and we're going to be using a variety of the stamped images. So we're going to be using the leaf, the larger leaf, and then the flower. Really, it's just whatever you prefer. It can be however you would like to make this. And actually, let me get a scratch piece of paper because I want to stamp off on parts of this, just where it makes it look a little bit more organic. So just take your Versamark ink, which is a clear ink. This is perfect for embossing. And before I start, I always forget this step. Take your embossing buddy and rub it across your paper that you're going to be embossing. And this is, it removes the static, so when you pour the embossing powder over your images, it doesn't stick to parts of the cardstock that you don't want to. All right, so you're just going to randomly stamp this on your watercolor paper, and this is, like I said, it's a clear ink, so right now you cannot see this. And we're going to stamp this, or we're going to pour clear embossing powder over that, and then heat set that. Okay, so then let's get our flower. Let's see here. That, and then let's, with the watercolor paper, it is kind of more difficult to see. There we go. And you can always go ahead and pour the embossing powder over this and heat set it so that you can see where you are, so that you're not overlapping. I don't think I have anything up there. Okay, and then we're going to come in with the medallion. And if I need to stamp a little bit more, I always can do that. Okay, let's see how we have here. All right, so what I like to do is just to get my little embossing powder tray, I'll put that in there. And I just keep my embossing powder in these little plastic containers and just sprinkle it all over. And then just shake off the excess. Okay, then what you're going to do is get out your heat tool. And I like to start it off on the lowest setting, and then once it's warmed up, then bring it to the actual watercolor papers. And this helps prevent curling. Okay. All right, so I know you probably can't see much right now, but we're gonna do some watercolor wash over the embossed, and then the embossing is gonna resist it. So this technique is called emboss resist. You're gonna wanna get out your aqua painter, and we are gonna use Delightful Dijon, Mint Macaron, and Rich Razzleberry. Now what I'm just going to do is, since I've already got that ink pooled up in the lid, I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze a little bit of water. So what you do is, if you are using this for the very first time, the top of the nib that unscrews, and this barrel is hollow, so you just fill that up with water, and then you just want to get, you can squeeze the middle of the barrel and just get a couple of drops of water. And then you can swirl that around in the lid, and then we're going to come in and just add the color to the right side, and you can see where I embossed, it's resisting the ink. So this is just a really fun technique. And then what you'll want to do is have a paper towel so that when you're done you can wipe off the ink and then move on to the next color. All right, so the next color we're going to do is the Delightful Dijon. And again, just squeeze some water in there. And then come in and kind of overlap where you stopped with the other color. And you can go as light or dark as you want. Okay, and then the final color is Mint Macaron. Just a fun technique. You really can't screw this up. Makes you feel like you're an actual artist. And the nice thing with the watercolor paper, it really holds up well. So what you can do next is you can actually just let this air dry, or you can use your heat tool if you're impatient and speed up the drying process. It will be a little bowed, but once it's dry, you can kind of flatten it out. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and adhere that onto our card base. And because it is a thicker cardstock and we've done some water technique to it, it is going to take a little bit more adhesive than normal. So I'm just going to go from top to bottom. So I've done about 4 lines here, and this should give me enough hold. Okay. All right, and then you're going to take the Rich Razzleberry that comes in your kit, and we've got 18 inches here. And so what we're going to do is we are going to wrap this in thirds, and we're going to adhere that to the card. So I'm going to take the snail, and then go ahead and put it on this end. And then just put snail on the back. I know it may not look like much right now, but and then you're going to have a full-size doily, and what you're going to want to do is to cut this in half. And I'm going to have them attached here, right here in the middle of the ribbon, and I may need to slightly overlap it just a little bit, and I'm just going to adhere it just where it's attaching to the ribbon. All right, and then you're going to want to find the Alhambra print of designer series paper. So it has this pattern on the back, but this really pretty lattice print. And you are going to want to cut this 5 by 1. And again, we are going to notch the ends. So just like we've done on the previous 2 cards. And adhere that. Okay. Okay, and then you're going to take the copper thread that is in your kit. Go ahead and move this. And you are going to, actually, let me do this first. I like to put some glue dots on the back. This just helps me keep everything anchored down. And then what you're going to do is just take the thread and just wrap it around your hand and just get it into loops and just mush it into those glue dots. And you can, you know, just fiddle around with this to whatever look you like. Just make sure that the ends aren't poking out. So just, you want those tucked in. All right, and then the last thing you're going to do is just pop this up on dimensionals, and our 3rd card will be all done. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove the backing, and then we can stick this, and this is going to go right on top of the designer series paper. So go ahead and bring your card back in, and that's just going to go right there. All right, so here's all 3 cards that we made today. I hope you enjoyed this. And like I said, if you would like to receive this card kit for free, card kit to make all 3 of these cards, all you have to do is just purchase the bundle, which includes the stamps and the framelits along with the designer series paper, and I will send this to you for free. Just make sure that you use that accompanying hostess code, and this goes through the end of September. All right, guys, if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. Head on over to my blog, which is istampin.com, and make sure that you subscribe to my weekly newsletter, as well as hit that subscription button on YouTube. And join me later for Stampin' 3D Wednesday. Bye.